So first of all, CMCD, people are aware of this. That was a specification developed by CTA Wave. This is 504. There is nice presentations here. That was September 2020. And that has been upgraded to be supported in different players and so on and so on. The very simple idea is basically that you have the player running the client, and with every request, or you can also filter which was request, you send in some specific headers information about client status and so on and so on. Why is that useful? We get there in a second, right? But there's some discussions here. There's also special session and documentation available that gives a bit of motivation. But why this is useful, I get there in a second. So there is use case, and that's how we identified in the context of the study. The use cases which are broad, including prefetching of content analytics, forensic debugging, CDN delivery optimization, alerting and monitoring, low latency optimization, server-side switching, research analytics, content steering, and so on. So in the context of 5G media streaming, there's a couple of purposes where we identify that might be useful. So for example, you can optimize the AES. So if you know, for example, what from the client, what they are expected to collect into the client for upcoming requests, which you can indicate in the header, for example, what is my next segment I'm going to request, then you can use this in prefetching, for example. You can also get information about a CMCD reporting buffer starving, right? So if you would observe this, then you could take actions in your network to, for example, in the PCF, to support the client to not starve, but give the bit rate. And probably the largest aspect is that you can collect data and collect this data for reporting, but also for operational purpose. And you can pay to create time series of event logs for audit purposes. You can use this in optimizations. And nowadays with machine learning AI, the end is like the sky is the limit what you can do with data, right? Data is basically just giving the opportunity to correlate data with operational aspects, or also with observations, and then use this for delivery optimizations. Okay, so and we probably could expand more on use cases as well. We looked into multiple options, and I know this is not perfect. There is very more options, but to keep it simple. So we looked into two cases in the study. Do we do in-band reporting and collect the information, the AF, and then report here further and do this? Or do we basically make use of out-of-band reporting, where we would more refer that the media stream handler would collect the information, give it to the M5, and then report here? So the decision in release 19 was to go with this case, and there were reasons for this. I think this is documented here. There's all call flows available that present this. And this is the justification that we did this reporting through M4 and M3. And M3, just maybe going backward one more time, M3 is documented here on the AS. So that's an interface that now allows to communicate between the AS and the AF. We know that in CMCD v2, even there is the ability to do more consistent reporting out of band, which was not well defined in the first version of CMCD. And maybe with v2 completed, we could revisit this or augment this also with an outside reporting. Okay. Now, there is the CRs available here, and I would like to just go. So what I wanted to maybe clarify, and that also goes back to this point. So the spec defines the interoperability, right? The spec does not define the operational issues, and that is something obviously which we could check in 5G MAC, that we implement use cases that are operationally implemented. So maybe I get there in a second. From an Intel point of view, the specification defines predominantly the following, and you can look this up in 26.510 and 26.512. There's the CRs that have been reporting this. So this functionality is combined with the metrics reporting, and it's metrics reporting, because we consider it as a metrics reporting similar to what is already existing today. It is different because it does this in-band reporting instead of the out-of-band reporting. So it's referred as in-band client reporting. But there is some integration, and basically then it's only forked at a specific level. What is now done is that obviously there is all the instantiation for the in-band reporting. So there's now, if you support this, the media player shall include every CMCD report, then specific parameters. It's allowing to do session ID reporting, content ID that is necessary to associate the data that you report, and also to basically identify the clients. So because the clients are identified through the sessions. Then there is a format defined how you can exchange between the AS and the AF, the collected clients, the collected data, and that's a JSON-based metric reporting envelope. So you go to 26.510 here, and then to 512 to use this. So there's an envelope that is the kind of the generic envelope, and then you have in 26.512, 11.4.3, you have the instantiation for the reporting. So with all the keys and all the aspects that are included here. Then we have added an ability to configure the reporting via the service URL. So you go there to 512s. And then there is also the ability that you can have a configuration setting APIs for the player versus M7 and M11 in order to collect this. There is an event exposure extension being done to R5, R6 to report provide this information through the data collection environments. And then there is also a definition for Dash instantiation. There's an NXG5, how the Dash client needs to act for content offering requirements and recommendations. So how to interpret this. Okay, so this is here. So I did the next step here, and I was good for this one. But I don't want to raise the expectations too high. I did not do all of these checking for the rest of the thing, so we need to jointly work a bit through this. I consider that getting this CMCD into the 5G MAC reference tools is some work, but not infinite amount of work. From an Intel point of view, from an operational aspect, we need to discuss it as well, right? But the in-band client reporting on M4 defined, this is small work for media clients that already support CMCD, because you really just get the reporting being configured. So probably it's even zero work. The M3 interface is something that is new and needs to be added to basically 5G media streaming, the AS, and also the reception of this data report on the AF needs to be done. So this M3 interface, this is new, requires some work. The service URL is new, so that requires some work, maybe not a lot, but this is not something you can just reuse. I believe on M7 and M11, so the configuration of the media player to report should already be supported by media clients that support CMCD, so Dash.js, for example. I'm not completely sure about EXO player, so that needs to be checked. The event exposure for R5, that is some work to create the report, I believe. And the in-band client reporting, again, that is adding the headers in appropriate manner. That's already supported as well. Now, obviously, there is then something that not all clients support all metrics, and the metrics are potentially complex to implement. Obviously, clients will have a subset of metrics. So I believe there's more to be discussed on the operational, but I want to keep it here for now on this level. And obviously, I expect that we will have some discussion on this moving forward. But I stop here because that is before the next topic.